All right, guys, so I'll just cut to the chase. The best weed killer you can make yourself is salt and vinegar. Yep, just like the chips, salt and vinegar, although this vinegar is pretty potent. As you can see, this is a 45%. This isn't your cooking, cleaning vinegar. This is some heavy-duty industrial stuff, but it's actually not that expensive. And salt, man, salt is cheaper than dirt practically. And sure, you can buy formulations of this at the hardware store. They certainly sell it in a bottle that comes like this. Of course, you have to look past all the ortho and Roundup and all those really nasty chemicals that no one wants to use these days, but you still want to kill your weeds, right? So you can find formulations that come in a bottle like this. I think they're like 30 bucks for the natural solution, but it's essentially this vinegar, and it's actually a lower concentration at the hardware store. So I like to use this higher intensity vinegar, 45%, with some salt, and you're going to be saving so much money on weed killer that you can go ahead and afford one of these bad boys, this weed sprayer. It's really, you can spray anything out of it if you want, but it makes the job so much easier just to have a heavy duty sprayer. This can hold up to, I believe, 5 gallons, although on the side it says 4, but I think it can actually hold 5. I don't know, 4 or 5 gallons can go in there. So I'll mix the vinegar with the salt and kind of dilute it with some water to have it go longer, right? Because I don't need that 45%. Now with this stuff, it is an acid, so you got to be careful. You know, if you spill anything on yourself, you want to definitely wash it off right away. It's strong, it's intense, but definitely a lot better to get some of this on you than maybe some of that Roundup or ortho or any of those things. They put this safety seal on here that's supposed to protect you, but kind of makes it more annoying to get it open. So just watch your eyes, and then we can pour away. We're going to fill this guy up. I'm going to use all of it because I got quite a few weeds to spray. And this stuff works great. Just like your regular old weed killer, they're going to be dead in about a day. It's going to really acidify them, dry them out with the salt, and that's all there is to it. No harsh chemicals other than like the industrial vinegar, but I'd much prefer that natural solution than anything else. And it's going to do the job. It's going to take care of the weeds. I'll show you some spots that I've sprayed before, really cleared out, and some of the new spots I need to still treat. Now, this is a solution that I wouldn't spray anywhere like in my garden. You definitely, if you're gonna do this to the soil and really blast it, you definitely don't want to do that on a spot where you want to grow tomatoes or onions or whatever it might be. This sprayer has a little filter basket in it, so I like to just put the salt in there, and then as I'm filling it up, diluting with water, it can take all that salt with it and kind of run through. Makes it pretty easy to get the salt diluted down in there. And you can see just like that, all the salt went through that filter basket, just in case there's any large particles, but this is just a fine ground sea salt. Of course, you don't want to use like giant rock salt. That's going to be too much, but I haven't had any issues with the fine ground stuff running through the sprayer, especially once I get it diluted down in the water. So I'll just fill this up. You can see a good bit on the side where the water line's coming up. And I'm going to dilute it quite a bit because the weed killers they sell at the store, it might be 8% vinegar. I've seen some that are like 20%. So really anywhere in that realm. And then the salt is just an added benefit. Really, there's no downside other than your yard might smell like salt and vinegar chips for a day or two. But I don't mind that. Maybe it'll smell like Easter. I don't mind that at all. It's fine for me. And again, I feel a lot better about that than anything from ortho or Roundup or ground clear. All the stuff, you'll find plenty of it. At the hardware store, they've got bottles and bottles and bottles of that stuff. And you sure can find the natural stuff, but it's in like one little spot right on the shelf. You got to go past everything else just to get to it. So once I found that, I figured, hey, I could just go ahead and make it myself. And all this stuff is super easy to get on Amazon or wherever you like to buy it. Real cheap, especially when you're buying things like salt and vinegar. Doesn't hardly cost anything, and it works great. And I can feel a lot better about using it in my backyard and in my front yard because I'd rather be dealing with these chemicals than anything else. So I got this nice and full. Just secure the top. I actually really like the sprayer. I have a bunch of Ryobi tools already, so I had the batteries. So it just seemed like an easy integration into the mix that I already have. That's kind of how they get you. Once you buy the batteries, you just end up buying everything else. But I actually do really like it. It gets pretty heavy with this much water on your back, so you just got to be careful. But it's as easy as just turning it on. And I can show you real quick, even without it in the backpack configuration, because you can carry it around, you know, in your hand if you want. We're gonna go on a mission. Look at these weeds right here. Just gonna spray those down. This makes it so much easier than pumping away, you know, having to pull, you know, a hand trigger or having to pump up the tank. The battery powered thing works a lot better, and I really do prefer it. So I'll just spray all the spots that I know I'm not going to grow anything. Of course, this is turf, so I'm not killing grass. I'm just spraying plastic. And you do want to, you know, kind of keep yourself protected. Hand, arm protection, eye protection, breathing protection if it's not a ventilated area. Although I suppose if you're outside, it probably should be. But I don't know, maybe you're in a greenhouse or something, and there's an area where you want to spray for some weeds. But this stuff works great. I'll show you where I've sprayed before. And over this direction, you can kind of see this whole side alley. It's really too small to grow anything. You know, maybe I could put some planter boxes down there, but not really. But this was all covered, just covered in weeds. It always gets all those wild seeds down here. And I found that this works well just to take out the overgrowth that I don't want. Because there are some spots where, you know, maybe I missed, or maybe they come back stronger in full force. So I'll just kind of spray down what I don't want, clear it out. I'm not too offended by this area. If it gets overgrown, it's really bothersome. But it's more about out front when I got the HOA looking at my yard saying, hey, you got weeds, got to get rid of them. Of course, I could go out there and pull them by hand. And if that's your thing, you can definitely do it. That's the most natural way to take care of them, probably. But a lot of times there's stuff that comes in that you just don't want to pull, you don't have the time to pull, and you want to spray. But of course, if you go to the hardware store, they're going to try and sell you the Roundup, the Ground Clear, all that expensive stuff that is just pretty toxic, actually, and I wouldn't want to spray it anywhere in my yard. And yeah, I will say that vinegar is quite potent, so just be careful. You know, make sure you're not breathing it in, sucking it down into your lungs. That's not good. But for taking care of some of this stuff, especially outside, it's made it real easy just to spray away. Simple as that.